What's going on, Marquette? Welcome into the Sports Pen on ESPN UP. I'm Blake Froling. We've got a special Masters edition, at least for the first part of the show here. I've got Seth Wells from TV6 and head pro Marc Gilmore from the Marquette Golf Club. Guys, it feels like it's golf weather right now, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready.
Maybe not up here.
It's a stretch.
Yeah, so, it is a little cold, so this is a good way to feel like spring, even though it's not, because Masters weekend is here. And before we get to that, though, Mark, when are we ever going to be able to play golf up here?
It's, we've been watching the weather forecast, diligently on TV6.
Hey.
Yeah.
There
you
you
go
go.
7-10 days out, and it doesn't look like there's that much better out there for 7 to 10 days. And so it's getting frustrating at our end, too, because obviously we have a lot of golfers who want to get on our courses. But we need that weather to pick up, and we need the weather at night to stay above freezing. That's one of the things we really look at. So there's continual snow melt throughout the day, and not just freezing at night and starting over. Then it takes a long time.
Well, that's great. What's the latest that you can remember that you've had to start the season?
The latest, last year, amazingly, because it started out well. We were hitting balls out on the range right at this point right now at Marquette Golf Club. We didn't open Garewell's course until May 6th, and that's the latest we've opened it because the rest of April turned out to be really a bad month, and May wasn't much better. But typically we open between the 14th and the 20th. On the Heritage course, and we always open May 1st on the Garewell's course.
Well, we hope we get some warmer weather so we can get out there as soon as possible. And you guys are also doing a Masters sale, is that right?
Yeah, we do. It's kind of our lead into the year. We get a lot of the members out, to get reacquainted with the clubhouse and everything. We have that open, and we have a lot of new equipment we're featuring from all the major brands, TaylorMade, Adidas, Titleist, Ping, and we have all that equipment, shoes, all the new things are on display this weekend at 2-day only prices, and it's a big hit, and the public is more than welcome.
Which days and which times can people stop by?
Saturday and Sunday from 10 till 5.
Okay.
So, we'll be there, and we'll show you all the new things, and we have some closeouts on some old product too as well, so it's a good opportunity to buy.
Nice. We'll make sure everybody stops by, because it is Masters weekend. No better time than to start getting into the swing of things.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Pun intended, actually. So one of the biggest stories with golf, and we don't talk too much golf on the show here, but it's been the Tiger bump. Since he's finally back, we've seen the ratings skyrocket. These, even every single tournament he's been in, it seems like the ratings are incredible. And as a golf course, do you expect maybe an increased passion or turnout in golf because he is back? Maybe more people are focusing on it?
Yeah, I do. And, the precursor to that, we go on these golf shows throughout the Midwest, and there's all the major brands are there, all the equipment companies, a lot of people, showcasing their stay and play options. So we're in Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis, and so on. And there is a bump at those shows, and there were TVs on throughout those venues, and Tiger was the issue, and all of a sudden you would hear a roar, and you knew Tiger was it. I mean, there were people watching him all the time in there. I talked with some equipment companies, and they said they noticed a bump of 20 to 30% and over anything they've done in the last 10 or 15 years. So,
wow.
So there's something going on out there. So golf he's starting to, again, the Tiger mystique is starting to come in play again.
Is that a good thing for golf, though, that it's just solely focused on one player? And then if he has another injury or a setback, that might drop down?
It could be, but there's only been one player like this as long as the game's evolved. I mean, there's only been one Tiger Woods. Jack Nicklaus is, again, the dominant maybe player of all time, but there's no Tiger, that mystique and just what he's meant to the game, growing the game, and just the way he hits the ball compared to any other player before his time. I mean, it's amazing.
So, of course, let's get to the rest of our Masters preview. Since we're talking about Tiger, Seth, I know you're a big Tiger fan. What are you expecting to see out of him this weekend?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, this is a guy that has been playing very well as of late. I do expect him to at least make the cut. And if he makes the cut, the Saturday and Sunday rounds will be one of the most watched Masters in the past decade. I think he'll play well. I really do. I really hope he gets in contention. I really hope he's within 3 or 4 shots going into Sunday. That would be as good as I could ask for as a golf fan. And you mentioned, I'm a Tiger fan, but it's really more because I'm a golf fan. And the game of golf just benefits so much from what Tiger does. And Phil Mickelson talked about that yesterday after the practice round. He's like, why would I turn a blind eye as to how I've benefited from his mystique? The prize money, the endorsement deals, all this stuff has been way through the roof just because of Tiger. And you see what happens when Tiger isn't there. The viewership is way down, and not many people are talking about it. And it's just great for him to be back and playing well. And if he wins one more major, people are going to go crazy, because then you look back and you're like, oh well, maybe he does catch Jack. And people have thought that was impossible for the last at least 8 or 9 years.
Right, and it seems like the young crop of golfers, too, is starting to catch up, whereas
Absolutely.
right when he got injured or had his downfall, there wasn't really that next group to step up, and now it's really strong, and this could be maybe one of the most competitive Masters fields we've seen in a long time. Do you think that would be fair to say?
I would say so, too. And again, just the young guard, like you called it. I mean, that young group of players, they're very, very good. And that's all from Tiger Woods, that era, and watching him play. So it's kind of the old guard, Phil and Tiger, versus the Justin Thomases, Sergio Garcia. I know you're a Sergio fan. All those young guns, DJ, they're all very, very good golfers. And that's all from the Tiger era.
Mm-hmm. And then a lot of them have been saying that they wish they could have gone against Tiger in his prime, but then a lot of the other golfers...
They don't really wish that.
Yeah, they're saying, no, you don't. No, you couldn't handle it. So where do you expect Tiger to finish?
He's the best player that's ever played, and it's really surprised me what he's done in 5 events this year so far. He's won $1.1 million or something like that in 5 events. I don't know if his game's still sharp enough. You look at his stats. In driving accuracy, he's 201st on tour right now, 51.6% or something. And greens and regulations, he's 183rd. So I'm not sure he's still quite there, but why should he be? He's only played 5 tournaments. But again, on Augusta National, Tiger Woods, you'd never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So
I think the driver is the big concern, where he might have to just, hit a wood or an iron off some of these pins or these tees, because he has been so sporadic, and especially the first tournament he came back, it was incredible how almost every single one was going in the rough, out of bounds. So that could be a little bit of his downfall there.
Sure. Yep.
So anybody say he's going to make a top 10?
I think he'll make top 10.
Top 10?
Yeah, I think he'll make top 10.
Could he do it?
Yeah, he could do it. Absolutely. You never say no to Tiger. So if he does do it, that's just more amazing. It's just incredible.
Right, and it's so tough because we'll get to our actual picks in a little bit, but some of the number of golfers you could say are hot, I think, is incredible. And if you look at the list of winners already this year, it's basically every single top golfer has won or hit a top 5 at some point already this season. So it seems like more than ever, it's even harder to predict who's going to be able to separate themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I think that the young group that you mentioned, like Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, that group is going to have something to say in this tournament. And I'll have more on that with our predictions. But those guys, they're not ready. As much as it's weird, because they're in a weird spot, because they all grew up loving Tiger, watching him dominate the game. And for a lot of them, it's probably the reason that they wanted to go into golf. So they're sitting there, and as a golf fan themselves, they're probably thinking, well, I hope he does well. And in the back of their mind, they're like, I don't know if I want him 2 strokes behind me going to the back 9. I don't know if I want him stalking the lead if I'm in the lead, So I think they're in a weird spot where I think that they'd be pretty scared if he was in contention, but at the same time, they all want him to be. So it's a very odd scenario for them.
They want to go at him because they've never really been able to at his peak in a big tournament like this. Yeah. So as for the weather, could play a bit of a factor on Saturday. It's supposed to 60% chance of rain, 19-mile-an-hour winds, but they do have at Augusta what's called a sub-air system under the greens. And Mark, maybe you can kind of explain to everybody what that is.
Well, we don't have that at Marquette Golf Club, but it's something I think there might be the only one in the country that actually has. But it's, again, if the conditions get too wet, it really drains the green. So they're going to putt dry. They're going to play dry. So that's an amazing system that they have, and you can't afford that unless you're Augusta National. That's for sure.
Right, unless you want to jack everybody's prices up by about 500% or so. But normally we say when it rains, the scoring might be better because the greens are slower, but maybe wouldn't have as much an effect just for Augusta then?
I think any rain it'll make it easier to score. The balls will stick a little bit easier when they're hitting them into the greens, things like that. And the speeds will still be fast, but anytime you have wet conditions, that makes it kind of like target golf for some of these guys on tour, and that's where you see the really low scores. So, but.
Okay, so we'll see. Let's get to some dark horses, because I think since the field is so wide, it's almost hard to just say one guy is the favorite. I don't even know who a favorite would be at this point, but we'll start with you, Seth. Give me one or two dark horses, maybe some outside shots that you could have to win.
Yeah, two guys that don't really get talked about too much. One of them isn't necessarily the biggest dark horse candidate, and that's Matt Kuchar. First of all, I feel like you gotta love Kuchar. Like you gotta love rooting for Matt Kuchar. He's a good guy, but yeah, I think that he'll have a good tournament. And then another dark horse that doesn't get talked about almost at all is Bryson DeChambeau. And he's been having a good season so far. It seems like he's kind of gotten to the point where he might have the lead after Friday's round, and then all of a sudden he kind of starts fizzling out on moving day. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was in contention here too.
And he's also got the clubs that are all the same length too.
Yes, he does.
Which is kind of weird. I don't know how that works. What is the benefit to doing that? Do you know the reasoning behind why he would do that?
Well, Tommy Armour Golf came out with this is probably before you guys, but about 20 years ago, they came out with a set of all 6 irons, and that's kind of what the premise of what he has. They're all 37.5-inch clubs, so you're swinging the same club with a different loft, and I think that's what he's saying. That's more consistent for him and easier for him than still adjusting every club being a half-inch longer or shorter than the other. So. So it was actually an equipment thing about 20 years ago, and now it's kind of coming back because of him.
But after that 20 years ago, nobody really picked up on it. They just wanted to stay the traditional route. Is that
like
what it was?
Kind of fizzled out,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure why, but I don't think they had a player as talented as him, playing their equipment. But he's kind of taken it on board, and that Cobra Golf is making a set like that to match his set. We sell it in the shop, and it sells well.
Really? Okay. So would that be, I know obviously he's not a beginner golf, but would that be easier for beginner golfers to use as a set with all one length?
It could be. Usually if you're starting out, you're starting out with something mid-length anyways, the 6-iron to 5-iron, somewhere in that area. So, the harder clubs are the longer clubs, the 2s, 3s, and 4s, and that's why he's saying making it all one length. Now it's a little bit easier to hit him some of those lower lofted clubs because they're all the same length. So.
Well, why don't you give us now a couple of your dark horse candidates?
These are dark horses. Alexander Schauffele, I think he would be a good one. So he won the Tour Championship last year at East Lake. He was Rookie of the Year last year. Hits the ball really far, and he hits the ball really high, and I think those are good characteristics. He's a rookie. He hasn't played there yet, so that's a big detriment to it, but the kid can play. So.
And we've seen guys kind of come out of nowhere, it seems like, at the Masters more than any other place, where you would expect that to be the last place it would happen, considering how exclusive the field is. I mean, guys like Danny Willett and going back, Trevor Immelman and Zach Johnson kind of sprang onto the scene back then. So it seems like it could set up for a guy like him as well.
It really well could, because his game is pretty well suited for that kind of conditions. So he could be a surprise.
Settle down there, Seth. Are you angry about that pick or something?
So another one I would pick is Tony Finau.
Okay.
So again, he's a rookie there, but hits it really far. And a lot of these guys hit it so far. I mean, that's why they've lengthened the course at Augusta, because it was playing shorter, but it still plays short for these guys. And it makes those par 5s like par 4s, and it's like a par 68 course for some of those guys that hit it so far. And there might not be anybody who hits it farther than Tony Finau.
So I've got two dark horses for you. One of them, Captain America, Patrick Reed. Everybody remembers him from his Ryder Cup performance. Was that now 2 years ago now? Where him and Rory McIlroy went at it in one of the greatest golf matches I've ever seen in my life. And he kind of dipped down a little bit after that, kind of lost his way, but now I think he's starting to make a bit of a comeback. He's been in contention in a couple of tournaments already this year, so I think he could fit in that mix. And this one, I did not know would be a controversial pick, but it might be. And I have the odds up here right now. He is 60-1, my next pick. So I would call that a dark horse because he's lower than Matt Kuchar, Ian Poulter. And I understand he won last week, but he actually was told at the match play that there was nothing he could do, and he was not going to be eligible for the Masters and might lose his tour card before he played the match play. And then they came to him later and said that they messed up the math and that it was possible for him to contend, which I don't know how you mess up the math. It seems like there should just be a formula.
There's got to be a computer system for that, right?
Right? Is someone really just like writing
Someone
this
could
down?
just type in Ian Poulter, and then it should pop up, what does he have to do?
Right? So they messed up the math, and then right when he was about to tee off, they told him that he did have a chance. So he played well enough in the match play to survive, and then he won in the crazy playoff last week at the Shell Houston Open to make the Masters. He had a huge putt on 18 to send it to a playoff against Bo Hostler, that eventually won. So I think he's got that momentum now where I think he could make a run. And he's a veteran. He has the experience. It's almost kind of weird that he was even on the border of not having his tour card anymore and not making the Masters. But I think because of how he basically rose from the dead to now playing the Masters, I think that's going to give him a little bit of an edge here.
Good pick.
You got to watch out. So are you convinced now that he's a dark horse?
No.
No?
He won a PGA tournament less than 7 days ago.
But he has longer odds than your dark horse pick, Matt
Right,
Kuchar.
but Matt Kuchar hasn't won that recently. I'm thinking the guys that are playing the best golf. Think about what Poulter's odds were before last week, and then think what they are now.
He wouldn't have even been in it.
Exactly. So he's hot, man. I mean, there's a reason that his odds went from nothing to 60 to 1, which really isn't that bad. 60 to 1 to win the Masters really isn't that bad.
I'd take it. Better than
I'd take it.
better than being Harry Ellis, who's 1,000 to 1.
Very good.
Ouch.
Yeah, not great.
I'm going to change my dark horse pick.
Harry Ellis. You make some money. I'm just saying, if you want to go out on a limb. When we come back, we will have our Masters predictions. Who is going to win, the definitive picks. You'll want to listen to me because I got it right last year. So stick around for that here on the Sports Pen. Now it's time to get to the point that everybody wants to know. Who is going to win? And we talked about how competitive this field is, and especially this year with almost all of the who would be favorites have either contended or won already this year. So Mark, you can maybe give us 2 or 3 top contenders, and then maybe make a pick if you can. Just give us some of your best shots.
So I'm glad you said 2 to 3 because that's what I have. I'm going to take the lefties versus the field. I'm going to take Bubba Watson, Phil Mickelson, and Brian Harman.
Wow, all lefties.
I'm going to take that should be a Vegas bet.
Right. Oh, I'm sure that's a prop.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a prop bet for that. You could find it.
So, but I'll take those 3, and especially with Bubba and Phil, coming off wins recently, and they played really good there. So, and it sets up well for them. It's kind of a drawer's course. So a lot of the right-handed players faded. It's kind of a hard mix for them. But being left-handers, they faded, and it works really well with the Augusta National. That's why they play so well.
All right, Seth, what do you have?
If I had to go with 3 guys, I'm going to go with Jordan Spieth, Bubba, and also Tiger.
Oh, throwing Tiger in
I'm going
there.
to throw Tiger in there.
I like that.
I think it could come down to one of those 3, and I think it's interesting because those are kind of like 3 different eras almost. Bubba's kind of caught in between the Tiger and the Phil and the Spieth and the Thomas era. Spieth started to play well. I mean, he was talking about his performance after last week's tournament, or not. I don't know, it was last week or the week before, but he's saying that he thought he made a lot of improvements in his game. He's been putting pretty well. So I think Spieth's going to be in contention. I do. I mean, I know I'm a fan. I know I'm on the bandwagon, but I think that Tiger is going to play really well. I think he'll be in contention. And Bubba is obviously at the top of his game right now, too, and he's already won the Masters. He's got that experience, too. So those are my 3 that I think are going to be at the top.
I thought I was going to be a little unique when I picked Bubba, but apparently not, since you guys both named him. Glad I have a couple of backups. But Bubba, the last 2 times he won the Masters, he finished second at the match play. And he finished second at match play this year. And he also won Riviera in 2014 when he won the green jacket. He won Riviera this year. So things are kind of aligning here for Bubba. You guys are all forgetting, this might be an easy pick, but Dustin Johnson. I mean, he has been one of the most dominant players of the past couple of years, and people said the only thing that's kind of missing, if there is a next step for him, is the putting, the short game, because everybody knows he can crush the ball. But now, this year, he's 14th in strokes gained by putting, so he's got that last part of his game there. I think he could be dangerous. He was supposed to be the favorite last year, and then fell down some stairs. So I think if he rents a house or goes into a hotel, he's going to make sure it's a flat, no stairs whatsoever. He's going to make sure.
He'll take the elevator.
Yeah, take the elevator, please, Dustin. We can't have that. So Dustin, Bubba, and I'm also going to throw John Rahm in there. I think he could be a high-risk, high-reward guy because he's got the skills. I think he won the Wells Fargo, or the Waste Management, earlier this year. But he has the tendency to be kind of like me and melt down on the course if things don't go right. If he misses a putt, hits a shot in the woods, things can kind of snowball him on it pretty quickly, and he can drop down really far. But he also has the ability to get hot at the right moment. He's the highest-ranked player in the world rankings not to have a major. So he's right there in that mix. So I think he could be a high-risk, high-reward kind of guy. Yeah, so he's kind of exploded on the scene maybe the past year or two or so. So those are the picks. Now, if you had to, now you guys each gave a couple. We all gave a couple. One guy, one pick that you're going to hang your hat on. We'll start with you, Seth. Who is going to win it definitively?
I would go with Spieth. Out of the three that I named, I'm going to go with Spieth. But I hope it's Tiger.
Okay.
So that's what I think. I think it's going to be Spieth, but I hope it's Tiger.
Is there any way Spieth can just skip the 12th hole, go to number 13?
No, but he's going to have to face his fears.
Okay.
He's going to have to face them. But you know what? I think he can do it. He's obviously one of the best players on the planet, so I think he's not going to have a problem.
Okay. Mark, who do you have? Your one pick.
I think one pick would be Bubba, and being a left-handed player. But if I was going to take a right-handed player, it would be Jordan Spieth.
Okay.
His record there is pretty amazing in 4 years.
All right. So I was going to pick Bubba, but to mix it up a little bit, I'll go with Dustin Johnson. And I figured that would be taken pretty quickly, but I got to take him. If he was the favorite last year, he's playing well going into this year, I'm picking Dustin. So there you have it. Top picks. It's going to be one of the one of the most exciting Masters we've had in years with this high quality field. So we're going to enjoy it. And again, Mark, give us again those details that you have for your Masters sale coming up this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Blake. It's Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 5 up in the clubhouse. We have all of our new equipment and all the new offerings from Greg Norman golf, apparel, shoes, everything like that up in the clubhouse. Not in the pro shop, but up in the clubhouse.
Okay.
So
Perfect. And again, he's Marc Gilmore from the Marquette Golf Club. I did have a question before we let you go. Since there is still snow on the ground, unless I want to shovel out the tee box, we probably won't be able to play for a while. What should golfers do? What should I do to get ready for the season, even though we can't actually go outside and hit?
You know, I would start, doing some workouts with calisthenics, to loosening up, stretching exercises, bar none. So, that's always good at this time of year. So, because a lot of people go out there, don't hit that driver the first 2 or 3 swings. Start gradually, do some stretching prior to getting to the golf course. And starting right now is a good thing, Blake. And then start gradually going into work from the wedge on up. Don't go to that driver first off. So that could be a mistake.
Well, I'm going to start stretching right away then, because I'll need all the help I can get once golf season comes around. Mark, thanks so much for coming in and doing this Masters preview. Appreciate it.
It was a blast. Thank you.